What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, chatting about some Fallout today. Season 2 has come to a close on Prime Video. 8 episodes now streaming, with the finale just having dropped earlier this week. Joining me to chat about it, I got my guy, Sean Mott, Metalcore Nerds. Haven't seen you in a while, and it is nice to be back chatting with you. Happy belated birthday as well.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Happy to be here. Happy to be back. Just that my wife Sam's birthday is the week before mine, and we were on vacation, and life happens. But I'm happy to be here. Happy to be talking to you. It's always nice to hang out with you and chat some nerd stuff.
Oh, well, I missed you. I'm definitely happy you got to take that time, have that vacation, do that little it wasn't like a how dare you not be here for so long. I'm definitely glad you got a nice chance to get away and have a vacation time with Sam, celebrate both of your birthdays, and just have a little bit of a break, get away from the world a little bit while, because when you're tuning into what's going on with the world, it sucks. It sucks. And so it's nice to be able to find a way to turn off every now and then. Before we start getting into some Fallout, I want to remind everybody to hit the like button. If you're watching us live or after the fact, hit that like button. See some people tuning in to the live show already. What's up, Emma? Thanks for coming to hang out. Emma is you're going to be seeing more of Emma if you're watching the podcast over the next couple months, because we're going to have Daredevil Born Again coming up, and we're going to be talking with her then, and as well as Project Hail Mary coming March 20th. I don't know why I thought that was a late February release. In my brain, it was a late Feb release, but it's March 20th. That one comes out, but we will have a show for that one when that drops as well. Emma's going to be coming to hang out for that one. And so lots of fun stuff coming with Project Hail Mary, Daredevil, Invincible, which we'll be talking about, Sean, as well as Paradise is going to be our next big show that we're covering here towards the end of the month. And, I'm not going to say anything. I was going to give a little tease. I was going to give a little pair. I don't know if that was me or you who disappeared, Sean, but one of us just blipped for a second. But Paradise is going to be the next big show that we're going to be talking about here on the podcast, but we will still have some stuff to drop between then, because that's still a couple weeks away. So hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Leave a nice 5-star rating wherever you get your pods, and make sure you subscribe wherever you get your pods. Don't just follow us on the one you have wherever you get your pods. Go to the other one too. If you have an iPhone, but you're a Spotify user, go over on Apple Podcasts too. Subscribe over there, leave a nice 5-star rating. Tell your friends. If your friends like movies, if your friends like TV, tell your friends. Let them know to follow the podcast. Give us a nice little subscribe. But, Sean, I want to know what you're watching, because we haven't talked for a while. You've been on vacation, whether it's on a plane or a night in a hotel. I assume that means you got a little bit of a chance to put on some TV, maybe a movie or two along the way, or at the very least, I know you did a lot of reading. So what you've been watching, what you've been reading, have you been playing anything? When was the last time you sat and played a video game?
Dispatch. That's the last time.
Okay.
So I got the new Metroid. I got the new Metroid for Switch and played a little bit of that, but I haven't played that in a minute. Maybe I'll get back to that. I don't know. There's too much stuff out right now. Too much stuff. It's a good problem to have, but everyone says the early beginnings of the year. Well, I don't think for TV, but for movies, people would say it's the slow season. But I feel like we've already had 2 great movies already in 2026, which I both saw in theaters, which is great movies, both for their own very different reasons, but also kind of similar. Send Help is wild. That's a wild ride. And I implore anyone to go see that movie. It is funny. It is gross. It is weirdly endearing. And it's really just about how you never underestimate the weirdo nerd ever. and I love that. It's so great. And just part of this, like Dylan O'Brien just killing it with these movie roles in like the last year or so. So go see Send Help. It's awesome. And I really, really love it. TV, it's been kind of a lot. I'm currently watching The Pit, Industry, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I did watch Wonder Man also. So lots of TV already. And that's what's happening. It came out in the last week or is airing currently. So a lot of stuff, and all of it is good to great on different levels. I really enjoyed Wonder Man. I love Yayo Abdul-Mateen II, so I had no doubt about that, and it just made me more stoked for Spider-Man, knowing that Destin is at the helm of that. So that's going to be really cool. And I did see the rumor that it might get picked up for a season 2, which I really hope so. At least I want to see more Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery. Great time for bromances. We got Samson and Dr. Kelson and the Bone Temple. We got Duncan and Egg in Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We got Trevor Slattery and Simon Williams. It's just a great year for bromances, in my opinion. And last night I watched it's a movie from 2007, but it was also directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, just like the 28 Days and the 28 Years movies. And the premise is the sun is dying, so they send a space crew out to literally blow up the sun to reignite it. And but listen to this cast, and you have to remember this is 2007, so the cast then doesn't sound as big as it is now. But Chris Evans, Cillian Murphy, Michelle Yeoh, Benedict Wong, Hiroyuki Sanada, and I feel like there's a few more, but those are like the big ones. But like back then, you see, like Chris Evans was not Chris Evans back then. Cillian Murphy kind of had some of the 28 Days has already came out.
Chris Evans
Michelle
was still
Yeoh,
the Human Torch at that time.
Yeah.
Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, but everyone thought what
I know.
I've heard.
I'm just kidding.
That was what I've heard from this movie is that this was kind of what pushed him into like Captain America and getting more serious roles, because he was always kind of known as like the playboy jock, like kind of asshole character. So, and he's great in the movie. Honestly, has a really weird haircut in the beginning. He kind of has like an emo haircut at the beginning, which is really, and a really big beard. But pretty sick movie. The people have talked about, if you've heard anything about Sunshine, the second or the third act is very divisive because it takes a pretty hard left turn, which I thought was fine, but I thought the rest of it was really good for a 2007 movie that takes place completely in space. Like the set design and VFX and whatever they did to make the spaceship and space look like is incredible. And I'm like, I can't believe this movie came out in 2007 because it looks amazing. And I did think it kind of set the stage for kind of like space movies, I think, because that's it's like pre-Interstellar, before Project Hail Mary was even written and stuff like that. But yeah, Emma's saying she didn't love the third act shift. I didn't either. I thought it was like fine, but like I kind of wish it kept the pace with the rest of the movie. And I still liked the movie, but I think I would have loved the movie if the ending was different, if that makes any sense. It's pretty dark too. Pretty dark movie. But it's cool. It's a cool movie if you've never seen it. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. We rented it on Apple. But I think that's mostly it. What I've been watching. If people haven't watched Industry, you need to watch Industry. That's the craziest show right now. I think I might like it better than The Pit, which is saying a lot. Every episode this season feels like Uncut Gems. It's batshit and just anxiety driven, and how they fit a narrative that feels almost like a movie that fits to the overall kind of story they're telling with the season. I don't know how they do it. I recorded a podcast yesterday and I was talking about it. Like I most shows that go this long, I feel like don't get better, but I feel like the show is at its peak now in season 4. And I think every other season of Industry is incredible, but 4 seasons in, and I think it's amazing. I have been reading a lot of books. Also, as you mentioned, I'm reading the Heated Rival series right now. I'm in the 3rd book, 3rd out of 6 The 7th is coming out. Obviously, I have not watched the show yet. Still, the show is based primarily on the second book, and it's cool because it's like all the books are connected, as in like they all follow different characters within the NHL. And if you know nothing about Heat of Rivalry, I don't know how you haven't heard about it, because it's, was one of the biggest shows out. But it's like a fake version of the NHL, and all these people who are gay within the NHL. But since hockey is such like a toxic masculine thing, people are afraid to come out, so they're mostly secretly gay. And I've never read or experienced something that is so wholesome while being so horny at the same time. Like it'll be like you're reading something, you're like, oh my, this is so sweet. Like I love these characters, and the next season is just like the most vile, descriptive sex scene. Like, and it just goes, and it doesn't feel like,
we call that hornsome.
Hornsome. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. And it doesn't feel like off-putting or anything. It's just like wild that it works. I don't quite understand it, but it's great. I'm excited to watch the show and excited to see how they kind of tackle that, because I know they return to the main two people that the Heat of Rivalry book follows. They're in book 6, and I think the new one that's coming out 7 is focused on them too. But it's cool to see how they're their own standalone things, but they all interconnect in like subtle ways, because it all takes place within the same sports organization. So of course it's going to connect. So that's been cool to get into that. I did read The Housemaid, which obviously is a movie now. I have not watched the movie. I think I've talked about this before, but I can't read something after I've watched what it's based on. It like ruins the allure for me. So I need to read before I watch it. And those are crazy books. I'm actually pretty excited to watch the movie because that book is crazy. It's just people matching each other's crazy in the most insane way possible. And I guess this goes into the watching too, but I read People We Meet on Vacation, then watched the movie, and wow, the movie, I think, dropped the ball to me compared to the book. I think if you watch the movie without reading the book, you're like, oh yeah, it's a fine rom-com movie, a fine, like a serviceable Netflix movie. But I think if they followed the book, it would have been so much more impactful. They leave like a very core element out of the book out that really bummed me out, which is fine, I guess. I don't know. I'm becoming the book is better guy, and I don't know if I like it or hate it. That's my problem in life right now, TJ.
I don't know if I like it or I hate it. I was distracted for a second as I chat with our good friends from the Reckless Rebellion podcast, Kleinfeld and Thomas Carter Rochester, Jack Buse, because on their latest show, they brought up some of their favorite cereals. And Klein brought one up that I thought everyone forgot about, and it was called Alphabets. And I am so passionate about this cereal because it was such like a formative part of my childhood. They were always at my auntie's house whenever I went there. Whenever we made the trip to Calgary, they always had Alphabets at their house, and I love them so much. They were so good. And I tried to search for them as an adult, but they discontinued them and brought them back with a totally different recipe. And they were trash. The new recipe
is a Canadian thing.
So trash. Emma in chat says she loved Alphabets, so she she remembers them. But like
it's
it was
Alpha
like
Bits.
Yeah. It was like a little computer on the blue boxes, but they were so good. And this new recipe that they brought them back with, I love that this topic has a hopped podcast and it's getting a segment on 2 different shows now. But the new recipe is like less sugar. It's supposed to be like whole wheat or something, and it's just absolutely trash. And you can't get the old one anymore. Essentially, what the old one tasted like is one of my favorite cereals is honeycombs. Honeycombs are like one of my go-tos. Yeah. I absolutely love them. Alphabets were basically, so they were in the shape of letters, alphabet, but there's kind of the same, they were kind of the same consistency as honeycombs, but instead of the honey on the outside, it was like Frosted Flakes. That was like the outer taste. So it was like a honeycomb base, but instead of the honey with the frosted flake taste. They're so good, and I miss them so much. But that was random. And anyways, that's just like why I was distracted at the end of your conversation, and I wasn't ready to give an answer and comment on what you had said right away, because I just got a message from Klein about alphabets, and I was like, I can't help but talk about them. I just wish I want them back so badly. But I also wanted to share, because it sounds like you've watched at least 3 new movies of 2026 that have been very good so far. I've watched one. I think the only new movie of 2026 I have watched so far has been The Wrecking Crew, which I found very interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, the writer is the same as Star Wars Starfighter coming up. And so I found that kind of interesting. But it's a new show on Prime with Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista. It was all right. It was a lot gorier than I thought it was going to be. Like a lot of violence. Somebody took like a cheese grater to another guy and was just like going to town on him with a cheese grater. It had some really funny moments. It felt like it was written in 2008. Like nothing aggressive, but like some light racism throughout the whole show, throughout the movie. Like nothing that's going to make you go like, wow, I feel gross after watching that. Like that was tough, but just like the type of racism you see in like a 2008 movie, and like in like something Rush Hour-esque or something like that, where it's like they're calling each other names, but it doesn't go beyond that. And then like a lot of fat phobia as well, which it was like, again, nothing overly aggressive, but like Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa are calling each other fat all the time, and it's just like nothing horrible, but it felt like it was from another era where all of that was more okay. And it kind of felt like this was like almost like a test movie of what can we get away with? Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we mix a little bit of this? Can we mix a little bit of this back in? And is anybody going to say something? But it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny, but some clear flaws as well. Outside of that, I want to share my. I have been putting them on Letterboxd so that I don't forget. You want to hear my recent watched movies?
Yes, I do.
Going in reverse order, so most recent to least recent. Frozen 2, K-pop Demon Hunters, Frozen. I did watch all of the Watchmen series, which I'll get to. I also watched all of Cats, which I'll get to. But Moana, Frozen 2, Frozen, Encanto, Moana, Moana 2, Sing, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Watch that. Great movie. A rewatch, not a first time or anything. Watch The Wrecking Crew. I've also rewatched Thunderbolts in January in so far this year, and I watched Sicario in like 3 weeks ago as well. A lot of Disney, and I'm at the age with my nearly 2-year-old daughter where we can't really just put something on while she's there anymore, because she's absorbing it all now, every single thing that's going on. She's a smart little one too. And so there's just been a lot of Frozen, a lot of Encanto, a lot of Moana in rotation right now. And it's weird because I don't know what's in those movies that wasn't in the ones from our youth, but she doesn't want the ones from our youth. She doesn't like, I'd love to, like, I've tried to go back and put on like Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules, my favorite trio when I was a little kid. Nope. She wants these mid to like 2010 movies. The movie that came out in the 2010s. Those are the ones that keep the kids coming back for some reason. But I also watched Watchmen for the very first time. HBO's Watchmen series. Very great series. Really enjoyed that. And then I just finished Task a couple days ago, and that's been the one that I haven't talked about since here on the show, where 7 episodes, all an hour long. It was like short and long at the same time, with each episode feeling quite long, but the series just being like, oh wow, it's done now. I kind of felt like this could have also been like a mid-season finale. Very good show though. Very good show. Mark Ruffalo at the end of this, like I didn't really care for his character at the beginning, despite like obviously you still feel for him because can't imagine. I won't spoil what happens for those who haven't seen it. I'll just say go watch the show. It's worth it. HBO Max in the States and is it not HBO Max in the States?
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is. HBO Max in the States and Crave here in Canada. And go watch it. But like you feel for him because it's some terrible thing. But by the end, I was like, all right, this is my guy. I would do anything for him. That's he just the growth through 7 episodes for him is pretty great. Outside of that, I've been doing a lot of reading. I'm on 11 days in a row right now. I have just finished this morning my 3rd book in the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. So I did the first 2 Kyoshi ones. I just finished the first Yang Chen one. Like the first 2 Kyoshi ones a lot. Yang Chen one was just kind of okay. I liked it, but not to the same extent. I like the character a lot. I like Avatar Yang Chen a lot. I think she's super cool. Some of the things that go on with her are incredibly interesting. Like, how familiar are you with the Avatar verse, Avatar lore? Not at all.
I know I've seen some of the animated show and I watched the first season of the live action. That's
okay. Okay. And so the concept of the Avatar, like a reincarnation, right? Every time they die. So this is like 2 generations before Aang and 4 generations before Aang. And so it's really cool to see some of the stuff from the Avatar: The Last Airbender begin to pop into it, but also pieces of like early parts of lore that get written in that work really, really well. But the other aspect is with Yang Chen specifically, the part of her story that I found most interesting is, avatars have the ability to communicate with their past selves, like kind of one at a time, have these like direct conversations when they get good at it, get some advice, things like that. She just kind of has like all of their memories melded together and gets confused sometimes and like forgets who she is and becomes somebody's memories from hundreds of years ago just starting to inhabiting her brain. And it's a super interesting kind of gift and curse that pops into her life, very X-Men-esque of kind of how it happens, where it's like, hey, you figure this out, it's going to be incredibly powerful, but if you don't, it's going to hurt you and those around you, kind of power. But that was the coolest part of the book for me. I'm going to check out the second one very soon here. And because I finished Assassin's Creed and I needed something a little mindless to play on video games and I could listen to it and not really have to pay attention to a game, I restarted Digimon World Next Order, which is kind of a remake of one of my favorite classic Digimon games from the PS1. First PlayStation is where it came out. But let us know what you were watching. Drop it in the comment section here on YouTube. Let us know on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And let us know what you thought about Fallout Season 2. Sean, I'll throw it to you here first for actually, before we talk Fallout, I forgot I did have one more question for you. Two-parter. One, what are your more in-depth thoughts on A Night of the Seven Kingdoms? 2, should I watch it? I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I haven't seen House of the Dragon. This feels a lot more accessible right now since it's just one season that is ongoing. And because it's a prequel, I feel like I could get away with it without having seen Game of Thrones. I know all of the Game of Thrones. I know the names of the Game of Thrones characters, the families, and the general basis just because, being alive in pop culture. But should I start here? And then if I get the buzz, maybe it'll convince me to actually start Game of Thrones.
That's an interesting question. Oh, I also did watch Tron Ares. That was a movie. It happened for sure. But I think yes. But I don't know if it will make you want to watch Game of Thrones. And here's why. Because what's so impressive about this show is that it feels Game of Thrones, but it doesn't at the same time, but it works because everyone knows Game of Thrones. It's very dramatic. There's a million characters you need to catch up with, and it's very kind of dark and vile and brutal. And this show is not that. It's very wholesome. It does have moments again where it kind of goes into that Game of Thrones where it's like, oh, there's this really violent part, and you're like, oh, okay. Or this, like, you know, there's some like nudity and stuff like that. That's like a very Game of Thrones thing. So it like fits well into it, but I didn't think Game of Thrones as like an IP had it in them where it can do something that feels genre different than the other stuff. Because even House of the Dragon feels very much like Game of Thrones. It's just a different time period. And this takes place in between the two. But the only thing, like you saying, you know, the house names, that's really the only thing that's like majorly connected. And I don't know anything outside the shows, and I've only watched a little bit of House of the Dragon, so I don't really know anything with that either. So even from that standpoint, I think it's like the perfect entryway, but I don't know if it's a great representation of the rest of Game of Thrones, because this is very much like a slice of life. It follows this dude who's a hedge knight, which basically he doesn't have any allegiance to like a house. He just goes and helps people where he does, and he inherited like the knightdom from his master, who was a knight, who he was a squire for, and then he takes in this little kid, Egg, who they call him, and makes him his squire, or kind of reluctantly makes him his squire. You'll see it when you see it, but like the relationship formed between them, and just seeing someone in Game of Thrones that's like just genuinely a good person is very you know, different than the norm of most of Game of Thrones, where it's, you know, it's very trying to get to the Iron Throne, and that's all that matters, and who cares who you take out in the wake, and all weird backstabbing stuff. And this is very much not that. Like and the episodes are half-hour long. Some are a little longer, but they're mostly like that, you know, compared to the hour-long stuff. And I think this season's only 6 episodes or something, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so way shorter season than a normal HBO show. So it's a very different vibe, but I would say watch it. I'm really enjoying it. I really, really like it. And I don't think you need any Game of Thrones knowledge. I think it helps in certain areas to be like, oh yeah, I know that family, blah, blah, blah. I guess. I don't even think that's really needed, but I think it might help with familiarity, and that's about it. But it's a really good show. I'm actually like very surprised by it and how they're pulling off this thing. And I know it's based off like novellas that George R. R. Martin wrote, and I know he's co-created the show with the showrunner, and there's a bunch of unwritten stories that he gave to the showrunner to do with the show. It got renewed for season 2 already before season 1 even started, and the plan is to do it for like 12 to 15 seasons to span their entire lives, which this is a crazy kind of prediction, but I think this could go in the comedy section of like award season, and I'm interested to see how it fares in that
Dominate
kind of
stuff like The Bear.
Yeah, and it's because I don't. It depends if this. Well, I think if the studio doesn't come out, which it won't before April, I don't think it would be in this year's conversation for the Emmys anyway. So I don't know. This maybe could be a pretty good contender for some of the comedy stuff. I guess
Well,
we'll see.
especially because I think, yeah, like episode time is so crucial to actually what categories those things
Right.
go in, which is why The Bear could sneak into the comedy section. So on that alone, plus based on how funny I have heard this show is, I do think that is probably where it would go. That makes a lot of sense. I think I'm gonna check it out, and maybe once I binge it, we could do a little show for it once the whole season has come out as well. One of the biggest drivers I've had of why I want to watch it is because so many of the podcasts I listen to right now are only covering that show and nothing else. And it's
Huh.
like, well, I guess I can't listen to the podcast because I haven't seen the show. And so that's actually one has been a benefit because it's got me reading a lot more. But I do want to go back and listen to some of that stuff. And we could probably do a podcast here as well after seeing it. Bring on some Game of Thrones people. One, have some perspectives from some real Thrones fans and someone who hasn't seen anything in the universe. And I did hear it. I apologize. I don't remember who said it, but I heard it the universe kind of described as like Game of Thrones is essentially if A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and House of the Dragon had a baby, where House of the Dragon is like one part of what Game of Thrones is, and it's very serious. People are dying. It's about honor. It's very intense. It's very bloody. And then in The Night of the Seven Kingdoms gives you beloved characters and emotional storytelling, both of which are very crucial in Game of Thrones, but are kind of like two different parts of it. And since they're prequels, almost like little parents who gave birth to the more powerful, more popular little baby. But let's talk about Fallout Season 2 before I don't think we have to do a very, specific deep dive of the entire season. We haven't covered it here on the show since I think episode 3. And so feel free to, throughout this, talk about any portions of the season that you want. But I kind of figured we could do season 2 as a whole pretty broadly, and then the finale go a little bit more in depth. But I think we can even skip the spoiler-free aspect of it, except for maybe starting with hey, did you like this? Should people watch it? And then we can dive into full spoilers of Fallout Season 2. What do you think? Fallout Season 2, now that the whole 8-episode season's out.
I think it's a really good show. I don't love it like some other people do. Like my Facebook feed is constantly flooded with like, this is the best show on TV. And I'm like, no. To me, no. I think there's far better TV shows, but I think it is a very good show. And I think the latter half of this season did a really good job of not only tying together the themes of this
season. This is the best show airing right now on Prime Video.
That I would agree with. That I would agree with. But it's hard, like shrinking's out right now. Again, the Pit, Industry, even in Night of Seven Kingdoms. Like, I don't know if I'd put those are kind of on a similar level to me, I guess. But
it is pretty crazy. As I was rewatching Watchmen and Task, which are both on Craves. For me, HBO Max in the States. And it is kind of crazy to see like the top 5 shows in Canada right now that like pull up on Crave when you start watching it, and it's like was basically just rotating every day of which ones were the most popular. But A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, The Pit, Heated Rivalry, which people are still really flocking to, and what was the other one? There was one more
Industry?
on there that was an Industry, that are all in the midst of coming out right now, and just those 4, and it's like, wow, those are some. And having just had Task finish, that's some bangers that they have going on right now.
Oh yeah, they're crushing it, and they have a new Bill Lawrence show coming out in a month. Like as Bill Lawrence has Shrinking out, and Scrubs is coming out, and Ted Lasso is coming out next year. It's crazy.
What Bill I feel Lawrence like we just got to tie in. We got to keep tying in Crave with it, because Crave's the one that brought Heated Rivalry, and that's been the big mega surprise hit. And so the Crave and HBO grouping, I feel like, had a pretty, like, when in 2025, when we have talked about it lots, it's just been like one of the best TV years ever. And then even before that, for 2024, I feel like HBO Max and Crave were pretty on a bit of a dry spell. And it was just looking like Apple was giving us all this incredible stuff. And I just remember like having a lot of people talk about this and thinking like, is Apple the new HBO? Like, is the next place we're going to get like true great prestige TV? Is that not going to be HBO anymore? Is that just going to be an Apple thing? That are they taking this over? And damn, are they ever back in the game, taking the lead again? They're showing everybody, hey, we are who we are. We're still one. We're still the one of one, and other people are still trying to be us, kind of thing. Because I feel like it was since Succession, it was pretty bare in terms of new content.
I guess was the big one.
Sorry?
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us too, but like season 2 didn't really hit the same way we liked it, but it didn't really hit the same way for a lot of people. It wasn't quite as popular. I feel like they're back now. The Pit was a mega hit last year, and then they ran it back immediately with another season. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, people love it. Heated Rivalry, surprise hit. Industry, back after a long time at the same time as the rest of these. They're doing a pretty great job. right
Yeah,
now with it. And
I
then
totally
we're gonna
agree.
have Lanterns coming up soon as well, which is probably my most anticipated show of 2026 for me personally. Either that or Daredevil, I feel like are my top two. Speaking of Daredevil, you talked about Wonder Man. We had a combined Wonder Man and Daredevil show last week, and then we also did a full deep dive into Wonder Man. So if you want my thoughts on that show, you can check that out as well on our podcast. We brought in Jenna Anderson to join Caesar, Jam, and I talking about Wonder Man. So check that out. But sorry, Fallout. I agree with you. Not best show on TV, best show on Prime Video, but there are too many other good shows right now to give it number one.
Yeah, but I think I think what I was saying is the latter half of this season was a good way to tie up. Like I liked how everything ended up, and not only did it tie up the things of this season, it tied up the things from season one, and it felt like a real complete arc while setting up a ton of stuff for season three, which I think they're already filming, which is a good sign. They turned around the season really fast. It was like a year and a half or something, not exactly year to year, but it was pretty close. Or was it year to year?
In this show, I am totally okay with a year and a half because of how much
It's a big budget show.
practical effects,
It's a
CGI, like just
big budget show.
when it's something like that, I feel like year and a half to 2 years max, totally acceptable. When it's a show that doesn't require that much, something like the Pit, which obviously it requires a lot of practical stuff because
A
they're doing
lot of practical
medical,
stuff.
because they're doing a lot of medical stuff, but you don't have to sit at a computer and do post production for months and
No,
months and months like you do
no.
something like a Fallout. And so I some shows are finally getting back to it, and I love it. Percy Jackson is actually going to have a ton of that, and we're going to get that later this
Right.
year, which is incredible. But that's kind of my thought process: is if it requires a lot of CG, I'll give you a year and a half. If not, I want it the next year at the same time. Bring back real TV.
We're getting there, I think. It's I don't think everything is going to operate that way, but it seems like everything is kind of trending in that direction. And I think it is because of it's like a quantity problem because there's so much TV out all the time and a lot of it is really fucking good. So people need, like, I think now the streamers and the creatives are realizing like people need this in the conversation and they need it in the conversation often. I'm really happy that Fallout switched to a weekly release. I think that's helped because I've seen people talking about it constantly. It's just hard because with these end of the year kind of when seasons of TV start at the end of the year, like this Percy Jackson, it's like I don't know where I'd rank them because it's like most of it took place in the new year, but it started in the old year, and you've already made your list. It's like a weird. I don't know where you rank those. I don't know. I don't think Fallout would have hit my top 10 regardless anyway, but I do think it was a very good season of TV, and I thought it was a very good finale. I did watch this. I watched the Real Rejects reaction, and the two people who watched it, one was like us, who's not familiar with the games, and the other one was a massive game nerd. And the way he reacted to some of the stuff in the finale made it seem like it's Fallout might be going trending towards a more of like a Star Wars kind of thing, where some of the Star Wars series are more impactful to people who have watched the animated stuff. And without that knowledge, things aren't as like full circle. Things are a little inside baseball. And I feel like that might be the case with Fallout now. I did not think that for season one. I think season one was but now that they're including New Vegas stuff and they've been very clear. This is a continuation of the game universe. Everything is canon to everything that's involved. It's not like The Last of Us or a retelling of what's already happened in the game.
And
This
not
is
just
part
canon, but I think
two.
important.
Yeah.
Like for I was on the Controller Club podcast last week with our great friends Lauren Rouse, Klein Felt, Tom Drew. We're gonna get Tom on at least one of the episodes when we start talking Invincible. I know he shared some interest in joining us for that, so we're gonna get Tom over for that. But when I was on their podcast, The Enclave, which now we're getting into full spoilers for season 2, teased throughout this season a little bit, and then really stepped up to revealing bits and pieces about them in the finale. That's been like a overarching teased entity in Fallout for a really long time, an entity that people know exists but don't really know much about. And so as they reveal more about this, I feel like it's kind of like groundbreaking for if you're a big fan of the overall universe and have played all the games.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, the game fan reacted to it. It's like, oh my god, it's such a big deal. And I got the sense, like, I liked how they connected Hank with it, and the big Robert House reveal of him kind of dumping this lore, and that stuff felt impactful. Like even the stuff with now Clancy Brown was introduced as the president, but pre Fallout, but he is obviously a massive member of the Enclave, and I'm excited to see. I think as seasons go on, it'll do what a TV show is meant to do and explain those things. It's just weird when it's something based off something and adding to lore of something that being someone who doesn't have any of that, you feel like other people have a leg up on you, and that kind of sucks a little bit. But I think they're meaning to make it for anyone to watch, and they will fill in those gaps eventually. It's just weird to be where you feel like you're at a disadvantage watching it a little bit, if that makes sense. And that doesn't hindrance the storytelling they're doing, because I think they're doing a good job. And the way they handle character is amazing. Like the arcs of the Ghoul, of Lucy, of Maximus this season have been great. And I really liked, like I said, it was a really good wrap up in this. It was a very good finale, which we've talked about this a lot on the show in the past year. A lot of shows can drop the ball in the end of the season, and I think they improved as the season went along. When I was first watching the beginning, I was like, this is good, but I feel like there's something kind of missing. I don't know. Like there was just something kind of that wasn't hooking me. But then by the end and the finale happened, I'm like,
there was too much, but also something missing. And the something missing was we weren't getting enough of, I think, the characters that we wanted to spend time with, and we were getting too much of the other random shit. Like the whole inbreeding arc throughout this season, like it didn't even need to be there. It barely came back around. It didn't need to be there.
Also, the Steph reveal, sick. Did not see that coming. I was like, whoa.
Steph stuff was cool. That was the one part. The Steph story of what was happening in the vault was the only part of inside the vaults I actually cared about. I wanted to stay in the wasteland mostly with Lucy and the Ghoul as by far the characters I was most invested in. But the only time we went back to the vault where I was like, okay, this is a mystery I actually care about, it was the Steph stuff. And it paid off in a big way, finding out in the finale, oh, Steph and Hank are married. Steph and Hank were married, and that just brought up a whole bunch of new possibilities that made me think, like, did we ever meet Lucy's mom? Have we talked? How much has she talked about her mom? When did her mom die? Is Steph her mom? I was starting thinking about all kinds of things.
Yeah, because they've shown her mom and they explained what happened to her mom in season 1. And
that's what I thought. I just kind of I had a blank. I couldn't really
remember. The father of Steph's baby dies in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's when she loses her eye and she loses her husband.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I did see a breakdown talk about like how all of her marriages have been to, or the one she tried to have at the end of the season, are only for her personal gain and her like secret revenge plot against America. And I'm so sorry for all my Canadian friends where Canada is seen as a massive villain in the Fallout lore. I think that's very unfair.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have never beaten us in a war before. Don't think it's gonna start now. All we needed is some pitchforks in 1812. It's too cold up here. You guys don't want that smoke.
That's great. That's good stuff. But yeah, like there was a lot of good stuff. Like I said, the finale, I think, might have been the best episode of the season, to be honest. I think it really like leveled up this season for me as a whole. And I think like I said, the first few episodes before that were building up to that. Like as things finally started coming together, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This stuff is now I'm getting more hooked into what's happening. But good for them. And like obviously the show's a hit. I feel like this show might be their new flagship post The Boys, their new like live action big hit. I think this is it. I know they're working on a Fourth Wing series, which has had some very big behind this, and I only know this because I've read the books. Sam has made me get into these books. They're great. It's like a mix of Harry Potter and Invincible kind of, but it has dragons. So I guess Game of Thrones throw that in too. But it has kind of the same tone as Invincible, where it's really brutal and then like really wholesome at the same time, and it works. And if they can pull that off, that is going to be a massive series. I know Jack Schaefer was supposed to be the showrunner, but apparently she's not now. And they got another big showrunner in, but Michael B. Jordan is producing the series. So we'll see. I don't know. That can
Dragons,
either
did
be.
you ever read Aragon?
No, I did not. But aren't they're working on that, right?
Yeah, I
Disney
just saw it
Plus?
officially got its writers the other day, and for a series at Disney, and so that's pretty exciting. The movie was kind of a letdown, but I remember liking the books
Right.
growing up. I
remember hearing that people didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad people are realizing that books should be series rather than movies. Well, it depends.
Often, yeah, often.
When it's something like that, big scoping fantasy thing, definitely should be series.
What was the more intimidating 30 seconds of villain we got in season 2? Was it Clancy Brown as the president and higher up in the Enclave, or was it super mutant Ron Perlman, who made it seem like that was one of the most foolish parts of the season to me? Is they made it seem like that was going to be the way that scene was framed, like this is going to be a big part of season 2 moving forward. Nah, he was just rescued and he was out of there, and we are never addressing that again.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like it was like a setup or it was supposed to be like just a nod, because Ron Perlman voices the classic big line "War never changes" in the game, which apparently got paid for with like a sandwich or some shit. So I didn't know if it was like just a wink and a nod or if it's a setup for something else, because obviously something's going on with Thaddeus. That dude's not turning into a ghoul. He's turned into something real weird. I know people have their theories out there who are big Fallout fans, but something's going on with him that I don't think is going to be very pretty.
He loses an arm. That was a funny bit.
That was
his arm
really
just
funny.
falls off. That was a funny bit.
He's like, I got it. Don't worry. He's like, you should stay back. And he's like, no. I got it. That was a really, really funny bit. And that's the thing I appreciate about this show so much, is that it blends so many tones and genres at once. Like it has some pretty, not stuff that's like getting me super emotional, but that it has some like really resonant emotional story arcs, and it's funny and it's gross and it's violent. It's a great blending of tones that I think they do very, very well. That fits this, kind of what I think Prime has been now known for now, these kind of ultra violent, dramatic, comedic shows. That's kind of their lane. It's like that and weird spy stuff. That's like Prime Video in a nutshell.
To what you said earlier about how like season 1 felt like you didn't have to play this game at all. You can know nothing about this game, and it did not impact your viewing experience for season 1. Season 2 to me felt a little bit like I'm on the opposite side of where I was watching Ahsoka, where a lot of people had complaints watching Ahsoka because they were like, well, it's fine, but I never watched Rebels, so these like big emotional moments in the show don't feel as emotional as I think they're supposed to. And I kind of went, that is a very valid criticism. I don't care, because this is for me. This is for me. I'm the person that this is for. I am adoring everything that they're doing here. Hera, I'm home. You kidding me? I'm gonna cry all weekend after watching that. And so it felt like one of those things where it was like, if I was basking in it when it was Ahsoka, I don't want to be a sore sport here. I don't want to be a sore loser.
Sure.
That's fine. Those parts aren't for me. And I might play the Fallout games eventually, and then they will be for me. But as of right now, I'm happy for the people that it's for, because I was happy for me when it was Ahsoka. And so now I'm happy for the Fallout fans that they're getting to fully dive into some of those things and get the teases, get the pulls to the game. The season did feel a little bit to me like The Acolyte or Peacemaker season 2, where I'm more interested in where you're leaving me at the end of the season than what you did during the season. And I don't think it was bad. I liked both of those shows, but they were just good, not great. But where they both left, I was like, hey, if I could get that season right now, that's actually what I want to watch. And that's kind of what I felt a little bit about Fallout, especially with how it concluded. I thought the finale was a really good episode, but you know, the ghoul Cooper Howard, he finally finds his family's pods. He opens up the pods, they're not there, but there's a postcard. It says Colorado, and he goes, oh, now I know they're alive. They're in Colorado. It just felt like he's literally right back to the exact same place as the beginning of the season. He had a tough adventure, you know, he almost died. He got stabbed through the stomach. Him and Lucy, he grew a little bit with Lucy, but he still betrayed her. Then he went back and he saved her. Kind of feels like we're right back at the exact same part as the beginning of the season for him with, a rocky but potentially salvaged relationship with Lucy and a quest to find his family. And so it just felt like a little bit underwhelming for me, where it's like, okay, this next season, then that's the one I think I'm excited for. I wanted Lucy to kill her dad in the finale, but I am happy with, I did think how that went was okay. I am still most intrigued in this show when Lucy is on the screen. Ella Purnell is just so good with this character. She's the heart and soul of this show. I think the Lucy and the Ghoul storylines throughout all of season 2 were my favorite. And then even the Lucy and Maximus stuff here at the end, that was fine. Lucy and her dad stuff, that was good. And the Ghoul stuff is good. But to me, the show is at its most electric when it's Lucy and the Ghoul going on quests together.
Yeah, which I don't think we're gonna get. I think they're kind of gonna go on their separate ways next season, which is a little bit of a bummer because I did love their dynamic, and I did. They both had some of each other bleed into each other, which I think was probably everyone's hope, and I think they nailed that. I do think the Ghoul has changed a lot because like that conversation with him and Robert House at the end, where he finally has hope. He's finally gained back some of that optimism he had pre nuclear bomb. Him, like knowing where his family is now, and I think they're a part of the Enclave or being held captive by the Enclave. I'm very interested to see how that storyline continues to progress. And there's a really cool parallel with episode 1 in the finale with the Ghoul is, they're in that hotel and he's shooting to kill and Lucy is shooting to disarm, and he shoots Hank in the ass, and gives the decision to Lucy. I thought that was like a really good parallel to show his growth and to see like Lucy, finally come to, because I almost felt like she was going to succumb to be like, oh, maybe my dad's right. He's not fully a bad guy, but him or her realizing this dude's out of his mind, an absolute nutcase, and doesn't kill him, but lets him go. You know what I mean? Let's the thought go of, my dad was not the person I thought he was. And now he's, even though he's not dead, that dude's gone. You know what I mean? He's never coming back. Him implanting that chip, or her implanting that chip on him, I think was a massive step for him. But I'm excited to see how her and Maximus, like what they're going to do. Like, are they going to stay in Vegas and be a part of this war? Like join the NCR? Like what's going on with that? Like, obviously the Ghoul is, set on Colorado and I'm guessing it's going to be a big him versus the Enclave thing or whatever, that's going to be that big part of that. And I'm interested to see how it does. And like, obviously the post-credit scene teases more of the Brotherhood Civil War. Like, how is that going to come into play with everything else? Are they going to make their way to Vegas and get included in this other war with all these factions? Like, I do agree with what you said. Like, it's set up for a more interesting season than what this season was, but I still really liked this season. But I think kind of like what I was talking about before with other shows, like I think this show could grow and become better with each season. And I think, which is what a TV show should do, I think as things go along and things culminate, it can make other seasons better, because it's like that was the building blocks to lead to this. If it ends up sticking the landing, that kind of rises everything up together. So we'll see. I do think it did close a lot, some bookends from season 1, which I think is important, and I liked that. Like mainly, Hank and Lucy. That was kind of the big thing from season 1 to season 2 that kind of finally culminated. But yeah, I think the ghoul and his family is going to, maybe it'll finally subside in season 3. And I will say this show does flashbacks better than most. And
Yeah.
I think season 2 demonstrated that very well. I loved the way how they were going back and forth with this. And I'm very interested to see how we get more of Coop's story, like after he got arrested and stuff like that. Like, I'm interested to see how that goes, because you see when the bombs go off, he's like with his daughter.
Yeah.
You saw that in episode 1 of the series. So I'm very interested to see that all kind of fill in, which I don't know when we're going to get that. Do we get that next season? I don't know.
Fallout and The Last of Us are the two shows that really stand out for me for like nailing flashbacks over the last couple years of like, damn, the stuff we get that they're putting in the past, just as good as the stuff we're getting right now in the future, or in the present, I guess, of the storytelling of this show, because it really is emotional, hard hitting, but also adding to the context of the overall show in a really great way as well. I don't know that this is the direction that they go in the show, but my best case scenario for if I was crafting my own personal version of Fallout Season 3, and I think part of this too is because I just played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where over here I'm working with Athens, and over here I'm working with Sparta. Now I'm working with Athens again. Now I'm working with Sparta, and you're just kind of like going your way through a war, tilting the scales in either direction depending on where you are and who you decide to help. To me, it would be most fun if we got like Lucy, Maximus, the Ghoul, even have Thaddeus there for a little extra comedic relief. They are questing through a war between New California Republic and whatever that other one's, Kaiser's searching for Kaiser's Palace in Vegas. I like that one. That was good. Whatever that group is called, like you're fighting your way through this war, helping one side, then helping the other side, all questing to find the Ghoul's family together. That would be my dream season. I don't think that's necessarily what we're getting though.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're splitting up again, which is a little bit of a bummer. But even the stuff with Maximus and the Ghoul and Thaddeus, I thought was awesome. Like that was a great.
Find Lucy's brother along the way. Find Rico from Hannah Montana hanging out. And
I don't know where that is going at all. That storyline, I have no idea.
I like that actor that he's hanging out with. I think she's really great.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm happy that she survived, and they didn't get eaten by roaches. But I assume they survived so they could team up with Lucy in season 3. I think. I don't know. Any other thoughts on what may be coming in the future, or that we haven't talked about from season 2?
No,
we really touched on the Robert House of it all, but I don't really know what to talk about. He was there. Now he's a robot. Now he's just still there. I don't know. You can't trust billionaires or the government. That's the moral of season 2. Can't trust either of those two.
True that. Which makes it so funny that all of that kind of media comes out on Prime Video. Wild.
As their owner just absolutely guts the Washington Post.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think I saw some theories about Maximus and Lucy like working for Robert House possibly. I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go. We'll see. I'm very curious to where their story goes. I did like them finally getting back together and finally meeting back up. And it was nice to see Maximus, finally, he was kind of teetering on the line of like too far gone this season. But I feel like the finale really brought him up to be like a hero, like that he was truly meant to be. Him and Lucy are just, they're good people at heart. They just have to do really messed up stuff along the way to survive and get to the bottom of things. But yeah, I'm excited for season 3. I'm sure it'll probably come out around the same time next year. Maybe we'll see. I have no idea. Obviously, they're still working on it, so they haven't set a date. But We'll see. I would kind of like it if they slated it for an early, like 2027 release rather than a late 2026 release. I don't like late end of the year. I don't know why. I don't know where they fit. That's a me problem. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Can't categorize them within my brain. Therefore, the show's trash. Not as good. No, I'm kidding.
That's just trash. I just don't know where to put it.
Let us know what you thought of Fallout Season 2 at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. You can let us know in the comments here on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up here in the future. We're going to have some interviews dropping over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be covering the next show on the pod that we're covering is Paradise here in the next couple of weeks. We'll have Invincible. We will have... Why can I only ever remember 2 of 3 at a time? Daredevil Born Again coming up very soon. Project Hail Mary, the next big movie we're covering. Plus, we'll have some fun with some drafts and things of the like in the next couple weeks as well. Sean, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your writing and anything else you want to plug? Podcast.
At Metal Corners on all socials. You can find Metal Corners on any podcasting platform. Got a couple really cool episodes if you're big metalcore fans. I have the drummer of Dayseeker next week and then the singer of Devil Wears Prada the week after. I'm very, very stoked on those conversations. So if you're into heavy music, alternative music, and hearing them talk about pop culture, that's the podcast for you. So go check out Metalcore Nerds, especially on YouTube. And you can find my writing Agents of Fandom. Haven't written anything since some of the most anticipated stuff for this year, but should have some reviews coming out near the end of the month.
Lots of TV. I've been listening to a lot of lately, kind of randomly. And I dare say I might call them the kings of covers.
Kings of covers.
They're not necessarily known for their covers, but I think this band potentially is the kings of covers. Do you have any guesses?
I was going to guess Our Last Night, but they're known for their covers, so definitely not them, which I'm glad. I'd hate that band. I don't hate that band. They used to be way better. They used to, when they were an original band and Mad Young, I liked them a lot better. Hate is a strong word and a bad word. But no, who's the kings of covers?
Bowling for Soup.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've listened to some Bowling for Soup lately, and they have so many great covers. From
that makes sense.
Britney Spears to Springsteen to they got a bunch of good covers in there. So I want to shout out Bowling for Soup because I've been listening to some of their music lately. Respect. But that'll do it for today's show. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in. On behalf of myself and Sean, we will see you next time. Peace.